Well, thank you for joining us. I'm so excited to interview and talk to you because I haven't done a one-on-one with a woman for a long time. I don't know if you listened a bit to the podcast that I'm doing recently, but I've started the Mail Review with my friend DQ, and we talk about a lot of dating, and it's very him and I only. And so I have taken a break on interviewing women, which is what I was doing mostly before. So I'm really excited to kick this off again with you. Like I said, I've been binging your TikTok channel all morning, and I'm super excited because I've been dating for a year now, trying to survive this crazy world and the insanity of a lot of men. Um, Trying to avoid triggers and real situations and all kinds of things has been really hard. And there's something that you talked about today that really hit home for me and actually made me think a lot when you were talking about the list. There was this girl that was saying, oh, she had a list of things that she want from a partner. And so you were like, when this is good to have a list, you also have to leave space for the person to just be human. And and so that really spoke to me because I had done a list a year ago when I broke up with my previous partner, and I haven't looked at it in at least 8-9 months. And so I opened it today because I was like, oh, I finally met someone that I think can be the right person. And it's funny, I haven't opened that list in so long. And so your TikTok made me go back to it, and I read it, and I still love everything that's on it. And so I sent it to him because we talked about your video, and then I told him I had the list, and he asked me to send it, so I did. And it was so cool to see how it fits everything on that list perfectly,
Yeah.
but also much more. Like there's a lot that he has that I love that I didn't even know I wanted.
Yeah.
So it was really like a great conversation starter for me today to see that. And it was awesome. And I feel like a lot of time we are stuck on a list, and when you look at that list, sometimes there are things that really shouldn't matter that much, or that are a bit superficial or restrictive, like how tall they are,
Mhm.
or I don't know how much money they make, or what color their eyes is, or like create like crazy things like that. And so I wonder, like, how do you how do you know what's a must and what is not?
Oh, that's a good one. We're starting right with the big questions, I feel like.
Yeah.
We're just jumping in. I love it. So,
Fuck the small talk.
right. And I think that, and I wish there was such a definitive answer of like, these are musts and these are not, because it's going to be different for everybody. Right. I was just having this conversation with my partner, actually 2 days ago, where we were talking about like my type versus a real person. And the list really is about like, this is my type, whether it's physical, mental, emotional, whatever those qualities are. And then you leave for a whole person. And I loved what my partner said. He said, gosh, like, he's like, he said, I can say this is my type. And at the same time, when you actually start doing life with someone, it's so much more than being your type. And I was like, oh, damn, I hate it when the non-therapist comes up with the better comment than the therapist. And I'm like, damn
Yeah.
it. Right? But what he was saying was so true. What he was saying is like, we can have this idea in our head of physically, this is my type. And now it's kind of become a joke. I'm like, oh, babe, look, she's like, so your type, like, because I'm not threatened by that at all. Like, and so, and we joke about it, but I think at the end of the day, you hold that list. I'm not demonizing the list. The problem, though, is that if we live too much in that list, it becomes, like I said in the video, an ideal person that doesn't exist. I don't think anybody's going to argue that those things on the list aren't great. I mean, I don't think somebody's going to be like, no, you don't want them to be thoughtful. I mean, like those lists are pretty comprehensive. I don't think anybody is going to refute you. Maybe on the height, over 6 feet tall, but for the most part, those are all wonderful qualities. Yes, it's good to be able to hold our partner to them and say, oh, I recognize there's a lot of these here. That's a good checklist. I think that's a good starting point. The problem, though, is that even after you've gotten, I had a client, what started this to inspired it was I had a client that said, can you teach this? My clients now find my stuff and they're like, okay, can you teach on this? Because we're having this issue. And she said, can you teach about what you do when you do find someone kind of like where you are, where it is a good match. I see a lot of those good there, but what is life after the check boxes, which is why I ended up doing a podcast episode on that, because then it comes down to, okay, those wonderful attributes are there. And then we have to get work on, what about the bottom part of the circle? What about when they do get bumped out of their zone? What about their weaknesses? Because we all have our strengths and we all have our weaknesses. We all have a whole circle. When we're only talking about that list, we're only looking at the top part of the circle.
Yeah.
And when we're looking at a whole person, we got to look at the whole circle.
Absolutely. And that is something we talked about too today. He told me that he was scared of, am I gonna like him in his everyday? Because now it's just us, but he has a life, he has kids, he has a whole things going, and he told me that's what he's scared of. And I mean, it's normal, right? It's very recent, so, but he was very open about, you know, his fears, and that's something that I really liked. I there's one thing I wondered when I was watching your videos today is how did you start talking about that? And how did the name come up? Was that your daughter?
Yeah,
like,
no.
my mom's a therapist.
Yeah, I'm happy about that. One more tack on to what we were just talking about, though, because you said, well, what qualities are important? I do want to add, you can't have a relationship without trust. It doesn't, the pure definition of a relationship, if you want to go into literally just a mind fuck of like a relationship, it's if the trust is not there. And if it's so confusing in your head, they're there, they disappear, they're there, they disappear, that kind of stuff, or like their words don't match their actions, that will mess you up internally. It should not be that hard. So when you are looking at the list of one things, they have to be trustworthy. And that is something that is built over time. It's by watching with your eyes. Anybody can say anything up front. But that when you're talking about a list, the one quality is that I really look for is that integrity and trust. Because there's a lot of things you can fake in life, but integrity is not one of them.
That's really true. Yeah, that's a red flag to be careful. Like, match their action with their words, and just take time to observe.
Yeah.
Yes. 100%.
Okay, so how did I get started? So it actually was a year ago, this past June, so a year and a month. It just, it started as a joke. I knew what TikTok was because majority of my clients are, teenagers and 20 somethings, and I've got teens at home. And so of course I was aware of it, but I'm not even a big social media person in general. And so I was just slouched over on the couch, overlooking my youngest over her shoulder, watching a TikTok video. And I actually just ran to this girl's video like the other day, because I was like, I haven't seen her in a while. It was the video that actually sparked all this. It was a sweet little gal, probably, late 20s, in like spandex, saying like 3 tips to get the best date, and then it was like the worst dating advice I ever heard. And so I turned to my girls and was like, what is this shit? Like, right? Like, this is how we talk in our house. And I was like, what is this? And they're like, oh yeah, they're all over TikTok. There's like a lot of dating coaches. And I'm like, this is like the worst advice I've ever heard. And I'm like, no, that's actually like going the wrong direction. It was
the wrong way.
It was like manipulating. It was like manipulating, like play hard to get or play. And I was like, oh, okay, wait. And so I said, as a joke on the couch, I just said, well, I'm going to make a video with good advice. And they said, all right, Mom, you do that. Right. And like, we're a little quirky in our family. We're a little and so then, about a week later I came back. I didn't know how to do it. And I had to ask one of the kids' girlfriends and the other one to be like, hey, how do you make a video? And then my middle one was like, Mama, if you want anybody to watch your video, you got to stitch it to another video. And I was like, I don't even know what stitch is. So she had to tell me what stitch. And then, and I said, okay, so I thought when you stitched it, you were supposed to talk to the person whose video you were stitching. I didn't realize that wasn't like the norm. So that's how it started. And I just started answering like, oh, no, actually, like, ooh, I have a different opinion here. Or like, oh, let me explain to you why you're doing that. And I don't know. I just would talk to them as if I was talking to one of my kiddos or their friends or one of my clients. And giving and started, and then kind of from there kind of grew. Stop trying to challenge less. At the beginning, I was a lot more like, oh, let me have a different opinion. And I thought, no, I don't need to hit people so straight on, although I'm a little bit more fiery. I just was really, I think people just need to be educated and loved. And if I can come from this understanding, because we feel better in our body if we can understand why we do what we do. So I even did, I would say, one of my more controversial videos like 2 weeks ago, where the gal said like, oh, I actually want to know who my boyfriend's hooking up with, and I want to know who he's sleeping with, and I want to know that, like, it was like, and it actually, I think it got like I think we're at like 800,000 views or something like that. It's crazy. But like, and I said, well, before you guys demonize this girl, let me explain to you what's
Yeah.
going on here. And because when we have understanding, we have a lot more grace for people. And a lot
Yeah.
more like, oh, okay, that makes sense. She's not trying to hurt herself. She's not trying to have a toxic relationship. She's trying to prevent herself from being hurt. And so just trying to give more
Absolutely.
understanding and a different perspective of things. So
Hmm.
that's how I got started. I kind of fell into the dating and relationship. Clearly that's not all I do. I see clients with depression, anxiety. I do see a lot of like self-harm and suicide. I do a lot of
Hmm.
complicated teenage cases. I do custody work, and I specialize in expats or humanitarians. But in TikTok, I haven't gotten out of the dating relationship.
But you know what? This is so important because I feel like we all going through this, and even though we're all doing it, we're none of us know what's going on.
No.
None of us know what the game is, what we're supposed to do, how we're supposed to do it, what's okay. And that's what I really hate about it. It's because I'm not a player. Like, I hate having to play a game, and I feel like dating is all it's been. And that because I'm unable to play a certain game, then people don't get what they expect from me, and then it kind of just doesn't work. But like, I don't want to change myself to for a game that I don't want to play.
Right.
So
Right.
that's what's been really hard for me. Is to understand that. And when I speak to friends, boy or girl, doesn't matter. Like, they're all lost when it comes to, should I be myself or should I play the game, or what is even the game? Like,
Right. No, that's such a good point, because the problem is if we start with the game, then we don't slow down to think logically. All right, you play the game, you get the person, but the person that you got isn't really seeing you. They're seeing you play the game. And so then there's this fear of like, well, what happens when I really show up? Right.
yeah,
And so it's not all about getting the game. And that's why you'll hear a theme through a lot of my videos. We have to separate out our value and our worth as a person from dating. If not, the goal will be I don't want to get rejected, not I don't want to find a good match or fit for me.
mm,
And that
yeah,
has to be the
exactly.
separation out, or else I will keep playing the game and I'll keep hiding myself, thinking if they could just stay long enough, then maybe they'll love me so much that I can slowly start to show myself and not get
That
rejected.
is true. That is a conversation I've had with a few friends that have been shaking me because they said just that. They said, I just wanted to fall in love with me already so I can finally be myself. And I'm just like, so who are they falling in love with?
Wow, exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
A fake, like, pimped out version of you. And then when they get you, well, if you're lucky, they still love it. But if not, they're just gonna leave, and it's just pushing the pain and like the rejection to later,
Yeah.
which is crazy. And but that's a lot of girls think like that now.
And
And
they'll
it's
add intimacy up front if I can hook them with what they want, which is being intimate or sexual and physical. And again, I'm not demonizing that, but the thinking often goes what I
mhm,
see in the younger ones. And I'm obsessed. I was super into like watching The Bachelor in Paradise and Bachelorette. And so I would always be like, and there was kind of this thinking of if I give them what they want, which is yes, they're with me physically, then maybe hopefully they won't say it, but hopefully they'll stick around for the rest. If I feel like I can get it, give them what they want
mm,
in the beginning, and never instead thinking, well, what do you want? Right. Like, what do you, and do you actually see who they are? Do you want them? And it becomes more about, I don't want them to leave, not is this somebody I want to be in a
mm,
relationship with?
yeah. I felt like that before. I think this is how you feel when you don't really know how to love yourself
Yeah.
or how to just be enough for yourself, right? And so you look for validation in somebody, which often is a male or a woman that you date or want to date. And I felt like that before, like just wanting to know so strongly if they liked me and if they wanted me specifically, like keep me, instead of thinking like, do I even want to keep them? Like,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
and and when I got to that question, their answer most of the time was no. But still, I wanted them to choose me.
Yes.
It's like this feeling of just wanted to be chosen, to be the one, even though you don't even take the time to think if you actually want to be the one for them or if they're the one for you.
Yeah.
It's just a weird, it is a weird feeling. And also how dating feels to me most of the time, it feels like filling up a hole. Like I just feel like now it's so easy. to date, like those apps and those things, you can really like see anyone anytime, if you do want to. And for me, until recently, it has felt very much like throwing dirt into a hole that was probably boredom and,
Mhm.
like of self-love in a way. And I'm just like, okay, here's a guy. Okay, you know, let's just see him because I feel lonely. I don't have a family. My friends are busy. Like let's just see that person and see.
Because
And that's how it's been feeling. I hated it.
when you okay, so we're gonna walk in this. I'm gonna kind of join you in this. And when you were, because what would you attach to that if you and I were to look at this together? Because if you could fill that like dirt in the hole, then what would this guy give you? What would he bring with him by dating or filling in that hole?
Mostly attention.
Yeah.
Um, Mostly affection, like physical
Hmm.
intimacy. Um, I was looking, I guess, for mental and like emotional intimacy, but I rarely got that.
Hmm.
What I got was attention and like physical intimacy, and that was enough for the time being, but I always felt empty when they left
Hmm.
because I felt like they didn't really add anything that was there to stay.
So you said something very important there that I think is worth us highlighting, and that is it wasn't enough, but it was enough for that moment, and when it left, it wasn't. But it's this
Hmm,
sense of like it's not really my option A. It's not truly what I want, but I don't have my option available, so I'll take an option B. It's not my first
absolutely.
choice, but it's a filler in the time being. I do believe a lot of the hookup culture. It just reminds me of this conversation. My daughter, one of my kiddos is home from university. She was meeting up with a friend and we were like doing like a mother-daughter dinner. And her friend was saying, I've never had my first kiss. I've never gone on a date. And we were talking about it. And I'm like, you can't say that to me. Like, I'm of course going to be like,
Yeah.
let's lean in. Let's figure this one out. I was like, and they're like swimming. And my son's like, stop it, mom. Like, shut. Like, so by the way, that's where like the my title came from. So my mom's a therapist. Is it wonderful as a teenager to have a mom that's therapist? No, it's not. Like they were like, mom, stop therapizing me, until it was like crisis, and then they're like, mom, I need your help. So um, of course I lean in and my daughter's like, stop, like do it, but I can't help myself. But she was saying, she was like, I was like, well, what do you think of dating apps? And she said, oh, like dating apps in university is all hookups. There's nothing less than hookups. And we were talking about, and then we had this whole conversation of why do we think people hook up? Do you think that's really the majority of what people want? And we came to the conclusion there are some people that works for them. That works for them. There's a lot of people that's not what they want, but it's their option B. If I
Yes,
can't get what I want, which is my option B, at least I get some kind of physical touch. And we have to understand, let's understand scientifically what's going on in our body. We get something from physical touch. Well, I mean, what do you, if you can think back, what do you get from physical touch?
affection, warmth,
Ah, yes,
happiness,
yes. Yeah.
excitement.
All those things, like even as you're talking about, like I
Yeah.
get like I get like kind of like tingly through my body, like it's just like
Mm,
our bodies are meant for that. Whether and so our body's like, well, I can't get everything, but I can get something, and it makes me feel wanted or desired, even if I know cognitively that's not the whole picture in this moment. At least I just get something, right?
yeah.
So let's talk about what do you do in those situations if I realize what it is, like, okay, I don't want to feel the whole, in the long run, when they leave, it doesn't feel super great. And what we want to keep doing, we don't want to take it off the table. I don't make things bad. So I would say, okay, that's there. If you're somebody in your life that you're feeling like lonely or you're not finding what you want in a relationship and you're just filling in the dirt, like you explained, we want to be able to say that's there, but what other pieces can I put in my life that I know can give me different kinds of feels? And this is what I'm always recommending. Can you go? Do you have a dog? Do you have a cat? Do you have something that you can grab and pet and hold on to, or borrow
Mm,
somebody's kid? Like something that you can like snuggle, and because we need touch. We
yeah.
need touch. Find that girlfriend or that guy friend who is like a hugger, right? Like we still need it. So
Yeah.
we're not saying no, I don't want a relationship. We're not saying no, or I'm fine without it. I'm not going that route. But in the meantime, we don't want to put our entire feels or what our body needs on hold while we're waiting for it or while we're looking
That's
for it.
true.
So
Yeah.
we have to find
Yeah.
other ways of getting it.
Yeah, I mean, I know for me, it's definitely my dog is like 100% my cuddler, but I
Mhm.
travel a lot and I'm mostly not home. So I'm just alone a lot. And sometimes where I go, I don't even have friends that I know or people that I know. But I know a couple weeks ago I was in San Francisco working, and I was feeling so deeply lonely and sad for some reason. And I just kept asking my friends for hugs
Yeah.
because I know
Yes.
they're huggers too, and I know they would do it. And so I've been hugged like 10 times that day.
Yes. No,
And it really did
accurate.
help.
Yeah.
It
I'll
really did help.
I'll suggest clients that travel a lot too. I see several execs that travel a lot, and they're like, "Oh, I miss my kids, or I miss my like my animal, my pets." Any of us that are dog people, we just know. Like, and I've had some of them do things like, "All right, in the town you're in, go find a dog park. Go find a dog
Hmm.
park because you can ask to pet people's dog there, or like go
Yeah.
to a park where you just stop and ask so you can like pet someone's dog real quick and just get some kind of feels in your body." Right, some
Hmm.
kind of feels where if I so that and you said a really important word there. You said I feel alone or lonely. And Mother Teresa has probably my favorite quote on that. She says, "The greatest disease of our time isn't leprosy or tuberculosis. It's loneliness." And anyone who's felt lonely before, man, that is a powerful feeling. That is a
Hmm.
hard feeling to reckon in your body. It really
Yeah.
is.
Yeah, it really is. And it's hard sometimes because like I'm lonely a lot. I feel lonely a lot, but I'm still really happy. And so when people ask me if I'm happy or if I'm doing well, I say yes, but then usually they stop asking anything because they assume if you're happy, then that's all that matters. And it's important, but like loneliness is real, and to me it doesn't necessarily make you sad. It's just that it's a feeling that's really hard to shake,
Hmm.
and that's a lot with you, and I don't really know how to handle it. And I think a lot of people handle it in that way, that they just fill their time with other people that they don't necessarily love or care about, but it's just to fill the blank.
Fillers, yeah.
And that's what I was doing with dating, and I hated that because I'm happy being alone. It's just when that loneliness feeling kicks in that is really, really hard.
Yeah.
And I feel it also pushes you to be attached to people you actually wouldn't be attached to or like if you were not feeling that way. And that's also a really weird feeling to talk about because I feel like people are feeling very vulnerable saying they are lonely, like it's a bad thing,
Yeah.
even though everyone I know often feels lonely, whether they're in a relationship or not, or have kids or not. And somehow we refuse to talk about that part like it's a weakness.
I so love where we're going with this. I mean, I've seen that quite a bit, even in like in TikTok, which I always say TikTok is savage. Like, oh, I'm like TikTok, I'm like, you're all savage, right? But like, there's almost like it's not okay. Like, girls will jump in and be like, "No, I'm good on my own. I'm powerful on my own." I can be a fully independent, confident woman, and at the same time say I have needs, or there are things I need, or I am lonely, and that's okay. That's okay. It's also okay to say, I have a beautiful life I really love that's filled out. And yes, I would like to share it with someone. That's okay too. That's not a weakness to say, I would like to share my life with someone. But,
Hmm.
but if we, and but if what kind of, piggybacking on what you're saying, if what we do though is we make all of our happiness, calm, wonderful life, if we make that contingent on our partner, that we are putting our life on hold thinking if I have this partner come in on a dating app, if I meet somebody on a dating app, then I'm going to get this whole like wonderful package with it. It's like watching one of those like game shows I used to watch when I was
Hmm.
young, where it was like they'd open up the gates and they'd be like you in like a kitchenette set, and that's not all, and then like open another one like a brand new car, right? And like somehow we think like that once the guy comes it's going to be like not, and that's not all, you
Hmm.
get this great life and this great family, and we've like made it so that whoever that potential person is also holding our happiness. And I want to be able to say, no, while we are waiting for a partner, how do we build out a life that
Hmm.
is happiness is built within us? So whether they are there or not, I'm okay. And
Yeah.
that's where we need to, when we're looking at dating, when you talk about why I started, that's kind of where we need to head with dating. Is dating should be, can I have an enjoyable evening? That is how I should start. Have an enjoyable, why? Because you're not going to get those 2 hours back in your life.
Yeah.
And
It's
by the way,
true.
between a date and like marriage, or a date and a serious relationship, is such a long ass road with so many different experiences that if that's all you're thinking about going in, that you're not a fun date either, right? So
I wonder.
I'm
You
like, just
see,
I honestly, I say I'm dating. I said I'm creating a dating program called the Sip and Lip Dating Program. Have a glass of wine, make out with somebody, and just enjoy the night for a moment. Like that's how that is where I start.
I love that. Sing. Wait, say it again.
We were
Sip.
when I first started making videos, I'm like, because I'm not a big fan of like cheesy dating programs, and I said the only dating program I'm going to start is called the Sip and Lip Program.
Sip
Have a
and
glass
lip.
of wine, make out with somebody, laugh a little bit, and then have a nice
I
evening.
love it.
That's
Oh
it.
my god. I want to have sip and lips every day. That
Me
sounds
too.
great.
Me too.
Yeah, I love that. But like I feel like what you're saying is really important in the fact that a lot of people go find happiness online trying to date. However, I feel like not enough people spend time being happy before they even go get a
Mm.
relationship. Because I feel like we've said it so many times online and at the therapist and everywhere. You can't really, be in a happy, healthy relationship if you're already not happy and healthy yourself. I mean, you can fucking try, but it's gonna be hell because if you can't be happy on your own, how can you be happy with someone or make someone happy? And that's something that I feel like I've struggled so much because I was in a relationship since I was 14 until last year.
Oh.
Like multiple long-term relationships. I was always a serial long-term person. I love commitment. I love being with someone. I love all that. And it was really weird for me to learn like what does it mean being me happy
Mm.
alone
Yeah.
without trying to make someone else happy.
What did
Because
you?
that's what I like that. I like making other people happy, like caring for someone, caring. And it was weird, like, okay, how do I care for just me? How do I do just what I want? And it took me quite a minute to like figure it out.
Yeah. What was that? What was that like at first?
I felt like everything was useless. I was like, if I'm not doing it for someone or with someone, what does it even matter?
Mm.
That's how I felt at first. And then I started just doing more of because when I traveled already before, I do a lot of things on my own because of my work, but it was never really because of a choice. It was just because of work. So now I started, treating myself, like thinking about what do I want to do today? How do I want to use those 24 hours I have home? Like, and I just started with small things like this. What does Clem want to eat today if she doesn't have to think about the other person who wants meat and potatoes? uh like things like that, small stuff. And and then I tried to take that into dating, which was really hard because again, as soon as there was another man involved, I started thinking, oh, what can I do to make him happy? Oh,
Mm-hmm.
how can I use myself the best to provide him happiness?
Mm-hmm.
And so I saw that I was doing that, so I tried to like break this down and just stop. But that was hard. None of this came really naturally, and it was every day. It's nothing that one thing I did that changed. It was just noticing it first,
Mm-hmm.
and then just like trying to do better next time. That's
Right.
really all it is.
So, I mean, and what I like to use there is the visual to say, often say with clients, like when you said, like when you get into a relationship, then I'll say, where are your eyes? Where are your eyes in their life or in your own life? And,
Mm,
and they'll be like, oh shoot, I'm in their life again. And they say, yeah, we just want to,
mm,
and then and it doesn't happen overnight. It's like growing a muscle. It takes time to build, just recognizing, oh wait, I'm in their life. Because almost invariably, every time your eyes are in their life, what are they doing? Where are they at social media wise? You're looking to see their location on Snap, on the Snap maps, and like, what is it they want? And I'm thinking about what is it they want. Invariably, though, it makes it unpleasant in your body. And it doesn't, and
mm,
we lose. And even if your body goes, no, but that's like my sense of identity is caring for my partner. But then if you're caring for your partner, then who is caring for you? And we lose the
mm,
stability. We lose that stability. So it's trying to, every time we go, wait, hold on, what is it I want? And someone may say, well, that then it's selfish. You're in a relationship. And I say, no, it's solid. There's a difference between selfish and solid. Solid means that, and I don't know if you saw this in any of my videos, I use the idea of a cupcake. Solid means I am the cake. I am to tend to myself. There's things in me that are not for my partner to tend to, that are for me to tend to. Your partner is supposed to be the icing on the cupcake. So whether the icing is there or not, it's still a pretty damn good cake, right? And so I need to be able to say, I'm going to care for myself. My partner is that icing. And the same thing, I'm there to tend to my partner. It is not my responsibility to keep them on their feet. It is not my responsibility to keep them completely happy. They are responsible for managing their own emotions. And that's one of those things I love to very very carefully, very orchestrated, I will thread into a lot of my sessions to say, well, your partner is an adult. It is their responsibility to manage their emotions. And I usually get,
Mm.
oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
Not your responsibility.
that's exactly, exactly. Like that always happens, and to me, I'm able to see that now, which before I wasn't. I always thought that. Well, also I was in like an abusive relationship for 7 years, so I was very much groomed to be responsible for everything that they were feeling or saying or doing, and so it took me a long time to like get out of it. But even the other day, someone said to me, "Oh, you make me feel guilty for doing this," or I'm like, "No, I'm not making you feel shit.
Yes.
You feel guilty because you feel like
Yes.
maybe you should do something else. But I'm not making you feel nothing. I'm just here minding my own business. I'm sorry you feel like that. Maybe you should do something to change it." But
Right.
like, like having those responses when people say things like that, it took me forever to like build that. And I guess not that long, just a year, but like still it feels like forever to me. Um but yeah,
And that
it's
is
been it's
very I want to touch on that because a lot of people, and I feel like there's people that are going to listen to this to be like, oh my gosh, that's a situation I'm in, where
mm,
it's a very subtle, a partner that says, if you would just do this and this, I would be okay. If you would just say this and this, and if you notice whatever they're giving you to say, it's usually so scripted that you'd have to be psychic to know it. And by the way, if you were to jump in and do exactly what they said, that little cup, if you would just fill this cup, I'd be happy. Guess what? If you filled that little cup, it would move. No, if you just did this, and then you and literally it becomes a sense of, it's what they're setting up as a pattern that says, if you it is your responsibility to make me happy. And right there, when it comes to that kind of pattern, it is only a lose-lose situation.
mm,
It's not on me to
absolutely.
make you happy. There's a part of us that is for us to tend to, usually left over from childhood. There's wounds, there's parts of us that are very young that we need to tend to, and that is not for our partner to fill. And we get in trouble if we look for our partner to fill those parts left over from childhood that are for us to do.
Absolutely. That's a really big subject, I feel, when you enter a new relationship. I on my list, one of the things was recognize and dealt or is dealing with their childhood trauma. Because I had so many partners that were not even aware of them, and it really like fucked us up in a lot of ways. And so that was really high on my list. And what do you think about getting in a relationship without being done dealing with those traumas? Because I feel like it's such a long journey. Most of us are not going to be done ever. We're just doing the work.
Mhm.
So, how do you get in a new relationship knowing that you're still dealing with those trauma and doing your best not to have it affect your relationship? Or do you think you should work alone on those things before you even get into a new relationship?
Yeah, that's such a good question. And you're going to hear different opinions on this. I've actually done quite a few videos on it because I feel really strong. Because you'll often see, I mean, I'll use perfect example on the show Bachelor in Paradise. I mean, I remember watching two girls come like skipping down to the beach. They're meeting up with the host, and the first thing they said is, I've done so much therapy on myself. I'm so ready for this. I'm so excited. Like, I really worked on my own stuff, which is wonderful. I'm not knocking that. And then they went on to proceed in like the next episode or two, literally to like implode, because is that individual work helpful? Absolutely. But if we think that we're going to get everything solved internally in our body and then insert ourselves into a relationship and have it be completely successful, I will tell you that's not how it works. Right? There's a lot of self-work that cannot happen outside of a relationship. You
Mm,
actually want to be able to do work individually. You want to put yourself in a relationship, watch your body react, then be able to do self-work in that environment. Because the whole point of being with somebody else that is not like you, not wired like you, and you don't have control over them, is it's going to trigger you. Right? So I do believe that there is an element that says, does that mean there's not seasons where you may say, I need to pause from dating? Like Tarzan, I need to just like put the vines
mm,
down. I need to not swing from vine to vine. I just need to put my
mm,
feet on the ground and sit down on a rock for a second and eat a banana, like just chill. Like, yes, that there are times that we just say, I'm recognizing my behavior is destructive or my coping mechanisms are destructive. Let me for a moment, let me do that. It's not an all or nothing. It is not a sense of like I'm at this place where I'm healed enough that I can be in a relationship. I don't believe it works like that. Right.
mm.
So I do believe it is a both and it's different for everybody. What I'm looking for, what you're really wanting in a partner, is someone who's willing to grow with you. When I have clients who have a big trauma history, I will encourage them in the first few days to say, look, I just know if we're interested in each other, like if they both are interested in each other and talking about a relationship, is to say, look, I've got this trauma history and I'm aware of it and I'm working on it. And I know it won't always look like this, but there's going to be some things I ask you or explain to you. And I just know the person for me is going to need to be able to understand that.
Yeah.
You want a partner that can lean in when it gets hard, who's willing to grow and kind of get in the muck, in the mud, and figure it out with you, right? And that's what we're looking for, is someone. Until we take our last breath, we are under construction.
Mm,
I read an
absolutely.
article. I read an article about this famous gentleman in the 1950s, his wife. And his wife, when she passed away, she had picked out a tombstone that she wanted. She was walking by a construction site and she had seen a placard up, and she had this put on her tombstone. And on her tombstone it read, "Construction has now ended. Thank you for your patience."
I love that.
Until we take our last breath, we are all under construction. I'm a shit
Yeah.
show at times. I know this stuff inside and out. I got to tell you, my relationship, I'm a shit show sometimes. We are all under constructions because we're human beings. Until we take our last breath, what you're looking for is a partner that's willing to be under construction with you.
Mm,
That's it.
absolutely. And that's along of wrong words that we hear a lot with, and when we start getting into relationship, I've heard a lot of like, oh, I'm not ready, I need to work on myself first, so I need to be the person I want to be first before I can be serious. Like a whole lot of excuse that men are giving you in order to get away from commitment. I would say. But but yeah, and also something that really hurts me that I see online a lot, especially in this whole like body positivity, like self-love world, is that you can't be loved, or you can't love anybody if you don't love yourself, which I don't think it's true. Because I mean, I love myself, but I'm never done working on my self-love and on my self-esteem journey. It doesn't mean I can't give love in the meantime, or I can receive love in the meantime. Like you
Right.
said, I think it's in a relationship is where you grow and like you test yourself the most. So I feel like if you just not be in a relationship because you work on yourself, then you're just gonna be alone your whole life. So it
Right.
makes no sense. And I feel like there's a lot of like toxic uh saying and words on the internet about those things, because I hear that all the time, like working with young girls, they're like, I'm just not worthy of love, I don't even love myself. And
Mm,
I'm just like,
mm.
yeah, hurts. And
It
it hurts.
it does, because I mean, if you think about it, more than anybody else on this planet, even your partner, even if you found your soulmate, more time than even with them, you'll spend more time in your body with your thoughts and with yourself than anybody else on this earth. Right. And so, yeah, if you're not loving yourself, I would always say too, I always, there's three, and I took this from a book I read, it's not mine, but there's three relationships to cultivate because they're all intertwined and they all impact each other. Relationship with self, relationship with other, and relationship spiritually, if that's part of your life. And all three of them are intertwined. All three of them impact each other, and all three of them need to be worked on and growing. And whatever you pay attention to grows. So if you only pay attention to relationship with other, then the relationship with self doesn't grow. But that relationship with self, that, I mean, and I was just talking about this with the client because I said, it's like we have sitting there inside of us that we have not tapped into or used the full potential. We have the potential to build a voice inside of us that is our biggest cheerleader, our biggest advocate. Like, girl, you've got this. Girl, I'm so proud of you. I can't tell you how many times I've sat in the shower with my head against the wall and just said to myself, girl, you've got this. I am so proud of you. I'm like so proud of you. Like, we can build this voice inside of us, right? But part of it is having to reconcile that relationship in ourselves, right?
Hmm. Yeah, and I think it has to be also like true, because this whole, let me say that there's this whole thing right now about, I kind of called it toxic femininity. Like, oh, like I don't need no one else, or like, oh girl, you're so hot, you're so cute, look at like this and that and that, blah blah blah. But like it feels like it's all a show, and I
Yes.
feel like a lot of the people that say that don't mean it or practice it in their everyday life, and it's just something for Instagram to feel tough and strong and give them like superficial confidence or
Mhm.
something.
Well, can
and
we talk about
and that's scary.
it is. I know exactly what you're talking about, right? But you said that part of like, I don't need anybody else. You know, I there was several videos, and a very successful gal, and she was the one with all the lists, and what struck me with her too, and I really appreciated what she had to say, because I was really never judgmental, but just intrigued. Her original video before that one, she'd said, I'm going to tell you right now, I do not need you. And if you do nothing but add to my life, I have nothing that I need from you. And I watched it over and over again. And I thought, okay, let me think about this. Is it, where do we find this balance? Almost like you said, this toxic femininity where, wait, is it okay to say, I do need you? Is it okay to say, well, I'm not sure we can rip our own clothes off. It's okay to say there's certain things like I can't make out with myself. So there are certain things that I can get from somebody else that I can't give myself, right? I mean, I can think I'm intelligent. I can think I'm smart. Do I think I can be like, oh, she's hot? Like doesn't really work super well, right? So there are things we can actually get from somebody. But I'm wondering if we can find this balance. But here's what I have found. I'm sure there's always exceptions. To me, the people who are most authentically confident usually aren't very loud. Why?
That's true.
They don't have to be.
Yeah.
I know my strength. I don't have to be so big to show it, right? I don't need to prove it to you. I don't need to be even bigger, or I don't need to be more like of an alpha male. I don't need to do that. Why? Because whether you see it or not, I know who I am.
Yeah.
Be more quiet.
Yeah, it's just as simple as that. Yeah, and I think it works the same for feminine and masculine energies. Like, it's the same. Like, the loudest one are usually the ones with a lot of insecurities and a love to prove.
Yeah.
But I guess the internet lives for the loud one. So it's easy to get lost in believing that that's what we need to be.
I have to tell you, I'm still shocked I have a following, because I'm not loud. I'm not creating drama. And I'm always trying to look for that balanced approach, which is not very popular thing. Why? There's not a hype around it. It should be grounded. It should be quiet. It should be peaceful.
Yeah. Health and balance is not cool.
No. I think that needs to be your tagline, Clem, is health and balance is not cool. Quiet confidence is not popular. That needs
I love that. I think we should name the episode that, maybe. That would be really cool. Yeah. But it's true. And it's just heartbreaking, because when you see younger girl living online, you see that is what they hear, because that is the loudest. Yeah. And so unless they have something at home in their real life, that is not that, and that they can understand, has better value, unless they have role models, parents, sisters, friends that are explaining them what is real. If they only look online for references, then they really get the wrong idea of who they should be and how they should act.
Right.
And I see that a lot in teenagers. I don't have kids, but a lot of my friends do, and younger, preteens mostly. And they already, the way they speak, they just replicate what they see online. Yeah. And sometimes I'm just somebody teach them real life now, please, before it's too late, because they're going down.
Yeah. Well, I gotta tell you, that is one of the reasons I'm a pretty private person. I love my private practice. I love my family and friends. I've never tried to grow my practice, because I like it. I like what I do. I've one I like flying under the radar. And I don't like being so public sometimes, because I do. But one of the reasons I keep showing up and keep teaching and keep putting out videos is because I'll get responses that say oh, I've never seen it this way, or okay, this changes everything for me. And I gotta tell you, I get sometimes so choked up when I read people's comments. It really, I can't tell you how much it means to me when someone says I'm looking at life differently and I feel more hopeful now. That I live for, because these young ones, these babes, and part of the reason I call them dolls, my dad passed away this year, but that's what he called us. He called my sisters. I have 4 girls in my family, and my mama. We were all dolls. We were his dolls, and I think people need parents in their life, and that's one of the reasons. And I like it because dolls covers everyone. There's boy dolls, girl dolls, and dolls. You can't tell if they're a boy or girl. Good, we got everybody covered, right? But this sense of we just need people in our life saying, here, let me help you out here. Right? You're doing okay, right? Let's go this direction. How about we try this differently, or let's look at this differently. And we need that in our life in different sources, because there's a lot of, I think a lot of the information out there isn't helpful. But I do want to, when I think, I want to go back because I don't ever want to be critical of that girl's videos, the ones that I was, and I see her really, I was like watching, I said, she's just trying so hard to protect herself. Right. But I think we've come like almost this, like, it's okay to have needs. And I get asked
Hmm.
a lot on this, like, what do I think of like masculinity and femininity? I get asked a lot, and I never have made a single video about masculine energy or feminine energy. I've never made a single, I've never even talked about it. So you're the first.
Why not?
Because here's why. Because I think sometimes we come up with terms for everything, and if it's helpful and it makes it feel calmer in our body, we will do that. As a clinician, there's times that I use diagnoses, but diagnoses are still just symptoms underneath. They're still traits.
Mm.
Masculinity and femininity, those are just words. What do those words stand for? Traits. What I believe it starts internally. And I believe internally, when I say we need to build this internal parent after we leave our parents' home, we need to build an internal parent in ourselves. And what does it mean to build a healthy internal parent in ourselves to take care of ourselves? It needs to be nurturing and loving, and it needs to be protective. We need to build inside of ourselves a masculinity and a femininity part that is tender with us and sweet with us, just like a nurturing maternal mom, and a healthy maternal, maybe masculine dad that says, if you are not safe, girl, we are picking you up and we are walking you out of here.
Yeah.
Right? And so we need to start here. I think our focus doesn't need to be on masculinity or femininity outside of us. It needs to be cultivating both of those inside of us to create our body a safe place and a pleasant place to be.
Mm.
So that's
Yeah.
my focus.
And I think that is I think maybe also you said she was probably trying to protect herself for sure.
Yeah.
She was, and also proving herself that she's enough, because I feel like a lot of time when I say, or when people say I don't need anybody else, there's even this song, I love myself, I don't need
Yes.
anybody else.
Oh,
And every time I hear it, like I love it, but every time I hear it, I'm like, but that's not right though.
yeah.
Like I like the idea behind it, and I know where it's coming from, and it's positive, but it's actually wrong to say that, because what I've been feeling is my whole life I've been groomed to be the most successful, independent, make my own money, don't need a man, I can do all the work in my house on my own, I can do everything, right? And I feel like I've been groomed to be that person
Hmm.
so that I could be the best, happier woman. That's how I've been raised. But now that I'm there, that I have everything I want on my own, that I don't need a man, that I did all this on my own, and then now that I want a man to take care of me and be with me and share life with, it's really hard to find. Because what we don't tell you when you go through this journey of making yourself this Wonder Woman that is so strong and so independent is that it gets really lonely. And like a lot of men, whether are scared of that person you are, or are intimidated, or maybe it's just too much for them, because I feel like men are not groomed to be all that.
Hmm.
So when you grow and you're all that, then it's really hard to find someone that's at your level.
I think you are hitting on something I feel like we could talk for hours about, which is exactly that. And the more independent or more successful a woman becomes, the more I believe she feels that. And we're not saying stop being that way, but recognizing, oh yeah, now that we've swung over here, we now need to say, oh wait, how do we come back down a little bit? I was smiling and laughing as you were talking about that song, because I remember when that song came about, because my girls would be playing it in the house and I'd be being like, that's not true. That's not true. And they'd be like, Mom, it's just a song. You're ruining the song. Right? And I'm like, no, it's okay. And they're like, this is not a therapy teaching moment. Just let us enjoy this song. I mean, the eye rolls I used to get with that song. But I'm with you. Like, it's not needy to have needs. It's not. And
No.
I've actually worked with couples where I have said to the woman, because she's like, I don't need anything. I'm fine. And I'm like, no, wait. If you don't give him things that you need from him, and vice versa, say to the guy, you need from her, then that person loses their ability to have value to you. It feels good to
Mhm.
be able to say, oh, I have something I can give to my partner that has value to them. That's adding value to the relationship. And if you don't let your partner do that, you're robbing them from loving you and showing up and feeling good
Yeah,
about caring for you.
absolutely. And I think that's something I've done in the past a lot. I have said to men, I don't need you. I want to be with you, but I don't need to. And to me, that was great, because it was letting them know that I don't need them. I just choose to be with them. And for
Mhm.
me, that was good. But then I realized later on that for them, that meant you have no value to me or you have nothing
Yes.
to add to me.
Yes.
And I didn't see that way at all until really recently. And that was my like, like independent woman shit. Like I thought I was, making them like extra happy and honored that I don't need them. But actually no.
Well,
They just would have loved me to say I need you for this, for
Ex-
that, or
Exactly. Exactly. And I think, and that's, we have to get away from this. It's not needy to have needs. It's
mm,
okay to say, no, I need you to do this. And it's so funny because we're okay with saying that in every other area of our life. We'll
mm-hmm.
say it at work. Look, I need you to do this.
Yeah.
I really need you to show up and do this. We will say it to our children. We're not like, I would prefer you to make your bed. No, I'm like, fuck that. I need you to make your bed now. Right. Every area is okay. But the minute we come to a relationship, right. And that's why, if you've heard me talk too, I'm really big on team language, right? A
Mm,
relationship should be a team. If you look at a baseball team, a first baseman, a pitcher, they have different skills. They're different skills. They're all part of a team and they make the team work. They still need each other to play their part. I need you to do this. I need you to bring your skill set. I need you to do this as part of the team. And that's okay. That's like a pitcher saying to a first baseman, I don't need you. Yes, you do.
mm-hmm.
Yes, you do. You
Yeah.
can't do
Yeah, you
everything
do.
on your own. Right.
It's true. And yeah, and I feel like, like I don't know if you read that book. The hell is called? I don't know why I'm thinking about this now. But it is called the the something the ways of the superior man.
No, but I like the title.
A man suggested that book to me. So when I saw the title, I was like, fuck this shit. I ain't
Yep.
reading that. And then convinced me. So I ordered it and I read it in a week. I was just like so into it because I was before on the team thinking that they don't need to we don't need to have any kind of classically feminine or classically masculine like task or energy in a team. Like we can both be the same. Like bring the same, act the same, whatever. Like I was very much in that mentality, but it never really felt right because I never felt taken care of. Like I always felt like everything was falling back on me because I was usually stronger than my partner, more driven, made more money, all this. And I didn't see the problem. But I realized that all this has been a problem for them all along.
Hmm.
Not because they didn't want me to, but because they had this thing where they felt like they wanted to be the masculine energy and I was so masculine already they didn't manage to be more masculine than me, I guess. Or it was, and this book deals a lot with that. It's like the divine feminine, this like nurturing and loving and caring and like and then they're like classically masculine qualities that are like like strength and taking care and providing and hunting and all that shit. And it kind of, to me, it kind of like really revealed a lot about what's been wrong in the past. I've had men telling me before that I had too much of a masculine energy or aura, and I never really understood. I'm like, what do you mean? I think you're just too weak. You just can't level with me. That's what you mean. Like, and so I was wondering, like, am I just want to be with like weak men
Hmm.
because I have this like more masculine like thing about me that they said because I feel so feminine. And I feel like
Hmm.
some men see me for what I am, but a lot of men can't see it because I'm so strong and I do all the things men do.
Yeah.
That's the only thing they see. They can't see the other side of me
The whole
that
thing.
is
Mhm.
so emotional and so caring and so nurturing.
Well, one of the reasons why too, I even said I was like, "Ooh, I'm interested and intrigued by that book title," is because it's so counter our culture right now, and I'm always
Yes.
intrigued by things that be like, "Wait, that's not with the trend." So let's slow down and take a look. We have to make sure. I think something we've lost in our society is to be able to look at opinions that look very different from yours, or be open to hearing different things. It doesn't mean you have to change how you feel, but being able to hear opinions that are different from yours. To your point, though, I think in reaction, it's the same kind of pattern that we see. I'm going to tie two things, I'll parallel them. If you've come out of a house, I'll use my own for example, right? My dad was a very authoritative man, and like whatever he said went. My mom was very the traditional 1950s typical wife, right? And my dad was very in some ways a very, I would say, toxic masculinity. And so like us three older girls, we all came out of that being like, oh hell no, no man is treating us that way.
Mm,
Right. Like we swung way over here. And I think that's what's happened in our culture a lot, is in reaction to a lot of this, and rightfully so. We've now swung over here. But I think what we're realizing is over here holds some issues too. So how
mhm,
do we start to bring some of this down? And without saying it, I think that's where a lot of my videos fall is, well, hold on, let's see if we can bring some of this down. Can we bring it down so we're more here, so that not from generation to generation, we're not swinging from one extreme
mm,
to the
yeah.
other and then back over again, right? And so that kind of goes along with, I had a client who was sitting here this week, and very similar, had felt very mistreated by her dad growing up, and rightfully so. And this sense of like, no man's going to treat me this way. And I finally leaned in this week, and I just adore her. I mean, I think I say that to all my clients. I really do. I just like adore them. And I said, well, we're gonna stumble on a little bit of a problem here. And she's like, well, what is it? And I said, well, you're very smart, you're very intelligent. And I said, and I've watched you pretty much like shred. And I said, well, I said to her, and this is how we talk. I said, I've watched you like deball most men. I'm like, you've demasculated them, right? And
Hmm.
she kind of chuckled because she knows it's true. And I said, but on the flip side, if they didn't show up and have some agency and some kind of confidence, I don't think you'd respect them. So it's almost like you have a lose-lose situation.
Yeah.
And she said,
Yeah.
I think that's where the issue is I'm having. I said, I think that's where we need to sit for a little bit.
Yeah. I very much agree. I'd probably be in the same case than her.
Yeah. So it's not right or wrong, but figuring out, how do we pull this down a
Hmm.
little bit and find something that works a little bit better for us, right?
Yeah, I really much agree. And especially when you talk about swings, like I feel like I consider myself a feminist, but growing up, being a feminist was a dirty word. Growing up in France, like if you say you're a feminist, you would have short hair, dress like a boy, hate on men, date women, and that's about it. So if you say you're a feminist, like, ew, she's a feminist. So that was kind of the mood when I grew growing up. And then living here for 12 years or something, I kind of like, built my own person as an adult and discovered that for me, a feminist wasn't that. And I did identify as a feminist because I want to put women equal and first at all time, and I want to empower them and grow them
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
help them be their best. And so I consider myself as a feminist. But then I feel like a lot of people have told me, oh well, if you think like we need men for anything, then you can't be a feminist. I'm just like, I don't agree. I do need men. Fuck. I want men to take off the trash for me. I want them to build shit for me. I want them to do all kinds of things. I need them in my intimacy. I need them for balance. I love to be
Mhm.
led. Like, I need them for a lot of things.
Well,
I
I
just feel
like
like,
extending that even more to say, like, we need humanity. We need
yeah.
humans around us. Well, okay, all right, so call them whatever you want, male, female. We need people. We're tribal. We are meant to live in community. We are meant to be connected. And it's okay to say, I need somebody.
Hmm. But I got that a lot. Like, oh, and I feel like this, like, also this wrong idea of being a feminist means you don't need men or anyone. This is so wrong. And I feel like a whole generation is growing up thinking that that's what it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it just comes back to like, how do you balance things up,
Right. There's
living
that
in the
balance.
world?
And that's why I love coming back to this place that says,
Yeah.
I can be on my own. There's nothing wrong with that. I can build out a rich, beautiful life that I like. And at the same time, I can desire to have a partner and want to share it with them. And that's okay
Hmm.
too. Right. And again, we're kind of trying to get back to that balance. Well, I'm looking at the clock, and I do have a client.
Yes.
I do need to.
Yes. Let's wrap it up. Let's wrap it up.
Clem, I just feel like we could talk forever.
I know we could. Thank you so much for spending all that time with me, and I can't wait to work on that episode and share it with you as soon as it's ready. Thank you so much. It was so cool. I could have definitely talked for two
Okay,
hours.
you have my email. If you have any questions about your relationship, just you and I, nothing on social media,
Okay.
you promise me you'll reach out and ask.
Yeah, yeah, I would love to.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
All
So nice
right.
talking to you. Have a good
You
day,
too. Bye.
and bye.